Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are down here by one of the big oak trees down here in the yard. So if you can see back here above me, there's a huge oak limb right here that is dead. Now the reason it's dead is because I tried to cut this off back some time ago and my old pole saw just wouldn't reach through it. And I have not wanted to get down here and be in the bucket of the tractor or something like that. I don't have another person really to run the tractor. Tamer doesn't feel comfortable lifting me up in the bucket. I ended up trying to saw through this. I didn't get through it, and that tree limb has been there for ages. And now I've probably killed out the tree, but I'm at least going to saw off this tree limb in order to keep it from falling out of there and hurting somebody, because we mow grass in here and we're in this part of the yard all the time. So I've got my Ego 56 volt brushless battery pole saw. It's got a 10-inch bar on it. And I still don't know if that's going to be long enough to reach all the way through it, but at least I will be able to get it from either side because the pole is long enough to where I don't have to be standing under it to be able to cut it. I'll be using the 2.5 amp hour battery in this today, and we'll just see how long that actually lasts. If it lasts through this, okay, because I've got to make several cuts on it. But then I've got some other limbs out here in another tree that the tree is back here in the edge of the woods, but the limbs come all the way out and they're almost to my driveway. That is probably over 50 feet of tree limb right there. So I'm going to try to cut that back at least to where the fork is right there in the tree limb, and hopefully I can get some of that overhang in the yard out of my way. As you can see, that's a pretty good size limb right there. And I'm gonna make another cut or two on there to try to keep there from being so much weight on the end of this. There we go. Now this next one, other than the height, it'll be pretty easy. So you can see what happened here on this tree. I initially cut this and was able to cut one side with the old pole saw. And what that did was allow bugs and stuff to get in there. And the tree couldn't repair itself in order to, repair the cut. So if I would have got it cut off initially all the way through, then it probably would have been fine. It would have healed back over and the tree would have just went right on. So you can see by the limb that it's full of holes, it's full of rot, there's ants and stuff in it. And now that I had made that cut and it had gone all this time and let insects and stuff into it, then you can see where the bark is splitting down through here. That's because they're eating the inside of the tree out and making this tree hollow. And this tree is, it's pretty much going to die because of my mistake. So I may end up cutting it and utilizing it for firewood or something, because I don't want it to just go to waste and be a big hollow tree and then just fall over whenever. I would at least like to utilize all that nice oak firewood that is in that tree. And you know, and this isn't something that I've done recently. This is part of the learning process of, you know, us coming to this property and taking care of the property. I made this cut on this tree probably 8 years ago. And with that thing, you know, it took that much time. But if I would have come out and corrected that and, you know, actually got that limb completely off there, this tree probably would never have had those bugs introduced into it. And then, you know, it wouldn't be in the shape that it is now. And I'd say within just a few more years that this tree will hollow out enough that a windstorm or something will come through and just blow it over. Now the problem with that, it's an uncontrolled, you know, it's something that you can't control. And I've got a fence right back here. There's power lines and stuff way back there, which I don't know for sure if it'll reach those lines or not. But this is a pretty big tree, but it's definitely going to reach my fence and stuff over here. And I don't want it to land on any of that stuff and then the fence that's over in here. So the idea behind it would be to try to bring it out this way and actually have a controlled fall with it and just cut it myself to keep any damage from happening from a storm. I am going to try to cut some limbs out of this tree over here, and I'll just kind of start high and work my way over, and then we'll see where we can get to with that. It's a lot higher than it looks. I guess because the limb is so big. You can see that this works so much better if you start small and work your way back. Now I should be able to hit that broken part and get it to come loose. Let's hit that vine. Yep. Nice. Now some of this is firewood size stuff. This is not little. Right here. This part of the tree is still hanging down pretty low, but I don't think I can reach up to this middle where it arches way up right there to get this cut off in pieces. So I'm gonna have to kind of mess around with this and find out if I can actually get it cut. There you go. Well, I have to say was a successful tree trim job. Where this mud hole is right here, this wet spot, low spot, that's where that limb was pretty much hanging out. And now I've got it cut back to where that I'd probably got at least 30 feet of that cut back. Now this piece that I cut right here, I was expecting this thing to split because there was a huge weight out on the end, and it did just that. But I was expecting it to split enough and have enough weight on the end to just break it out. So in this, like I say, I knew it was going to do it because I had so much limb out there, but I was banking on it breaking loose as it fell too and going ahead and coming off. But with the pole saw, I'm back away from it pretty good ways, and also then I can jump back from it and get out of the way. I have to say this was one heck of a test for that pole saw because these are firewood sized pieces. These are 8 and 10 inches in diameter. These are not small limbs whatsoever, and I'm still using the same 2.5 amp hour battery. I've not changed the battery or anything, making these big long cuts. And you know, the one I had to cut from both sides over here on this other oak tree, had to cut it from both sides. So I mean, that's a lot of cutting and a lot of time running that saw, and then come over here the same way, make all these cuts, and then work my way back to these larger pieces that are pushing 8 inches, maybe even a little bit more in diameter. And this is solid wood. There's no rod in this, and it sawed through that stuff, done it all on one battery. I'm really impressed with that. And what's even more impressive, it's still got 2 bars left on it. You can see this is the 2.5 amp hour with still 2 bars of battery after all that cutting. So the battery itself is just a little bit warm, but not bad at all, just barely warm to the touch. The motor on the saw actually is feeling just a little bit warm. Again, it's not hot by no means, but it is warmer than the battery. One thing I did notice, my chain started getting dry. There is just a small amount of oil left in the oil tank. So I would say this is set up. I haven't actually run it completely dead yet. So I'd say it's set up pretty close to where a tank of oil will last a 2.5 amp hour battery, or at least really close to that. So that's going to wrap it up for today. I got a few more things to clean up here. I'm going to cut some of those vines loose and cut them as high as I can so they're not hanging down. They are cut loose from the root down here on the ground, so they should kind of start dying out, and they'll eventually just kind of fall out of the tree. But I got some fun lined out for me on this because there's some good oak firewood in these limbs that I cut off here. And then of course I've got the chipper, the Big Bear BBC 72 that I'll bring down here, and all the stuff that is too small for firewood, then I'll just run it through the chipper. Won't take but just a few minutes to run it through there. So it's going to kind of make cleanup fun having that chipper because it's easy to transport. I can get it down here, clean up these messes, get rid of it, and I have no brush piles left over. And as big as what this brush pile is, there will be so much of this that would just be in a big pile. So this is really the second test that I've run with this. And I went from cutting 1.5 inch, 2 inch limbs, and cut a bunch of those yesterday up there at the house, trimmed up a tree and got the canopy raised up nice and high so I can go under it with the tractor. And then this one, I got rid of all those obstructions and overhang. It ought to let the grass grow a lot better in here. Plus, I don't have that big 50-foot long branch hanging out over my head whenever I'm trying to mow under it. So thanks for checking out the video today. If you enjoyed it, I appreciate you hitting that thumbs up button. Share it with anybody you know. Also, follow along because these are long-term reviews on all these products that I have. I have several Ego products now, and you know, it's not, a lot of people can do a review on something and give their opinion about something, but I like to do it after I've used it and ran it for months at a time. And I really put it to work. We're on 45 acres here, and I'm all the time cutting trees and sawing limbs and doing stuff to really put this stuff through a hard workout. So follow along for all that, and until next time, I'll see you outdoors.